Hey everybody, now that the playoffs are over and the Caps have won the cup, I want to look back at some players who had really good postseasons, played really well. Now these players can be from any team. Um, I'll tell you right now that nobody who only lasted one round is on this. Had to be in the playoffs for at least a couple of rounds, but it can be. They're not in any particular order. This isn't a top 10 ranked list of 1 through 10 or anything. This is just 10 players, and I have a couple goalies included who had really good postseasons. These are not the only players who had good postseasons and put up a lot of points or played really well. These are just 10 that when I went through the stats, really stuck out to me and looked like they had um, well, not only looked like they did have a really good production and were really important players for their teams in the playoffs and were main reasons that their teams got as far as they did. So, no particular order, and these are not the only players to have good postseasons. These are just the players that really stood out to me, and I think deserve to be recognized. Number one, the Stanley Cup winning goalie Braden Holtby from the Washington Capitals. He obviously did not start the playoffs as a starting goalie. Philip Grubauer played the first two games and lost both. In comes Holtby, and he saves the day. Washington rides Holtby the rest of the way, all the way to a Stanley Cup win. He played in 23 games in these playoffs. He had a 16-7 record, a 922 save percentage, a 2.16 goals against average. Both of those are fantastic, and he had two shutouts. Holtby was instrumental in Washington winning the cup. They would not have done it without him, and he had a great playoffs for them. He's a very good playoff performer, and this year just cemented that and his ability in the postseason. Next up, I'm doing the goalies first. I have three goalies that are going first and then into regular players. The Stanley Cup losing goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury for Vegas. He was fantastic for the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights would not have been anywhere past the first round without Marc-Andre Fleury in net. He was incredible. He made some serious saves for them. Some huge saves, some timely saves. He was really the only reason they were in it in the final. If it wasn't for Fleury in the final, games 2 through 5 would have all been huge blowouts. You cannot blame him for the loss, for Vegas's loss. He was outstanding every step of the way in the playoffs. He played 20 games. He went 13-7. He had a 927 save percentage, which is just fantastic, and a 2.24 goals against. He also had 4 shutouts. Fleury was magnificent for Vegas, and they would have not even been close to the final without him. Now, the third goalie is probably not who you were expecting, but when I looked at the numbers, he actually had an extremely good postseason, and the reason his team got knocked out was certainly not goaltending. Martin Jones from the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks only made it to the second round, where they lost to Vegas, but he had a great playoff. He only played 10 games, and his record's only 6-4, but he had a 928 save percentage and a 2.26 goals against average. Those are Stanley Cup numbers. That save percentage and goals against are very similar to both goaltenders right here that were in the final. He was playing at a Stanley Cup level. The Sharks as a whole did not. Goal scoring became an issue for San Jose, and that's why they lost. But he was absolutely magnificent. He also had 2 shutouts. He didn't last very as long as some of the other goalies in the playoffs, but he was outstanding and did his part certainly for the Sharks. Now, on to regular players. Riley Smith. Riley Smith was the leading point getter for Vegas, and he had a tremendous postseason. 20 games played, he had 5 goals, 17 assists in 20 games. So almost an assist per game and 22 points. Better than a point per game. He Jonathan Marchessault and William Karlsson, rightfully so, got a lot of credit, but Riley Smith, more quietly than those two, had an extremely good postseason and was a key player in how Vegas ended up in the finals. Next up, Mark Scheifele from Winnipeg. Winnipeg lost in the conference final to Vegas out west, but he was going for the record, the goal-scoring record in a postseason, and was well on his way to getting there had Winnipeg beaten Vegas and gone to the Cup final. He certainly had a good chance to get there. In 17 games played, Scheifele had 14 goals, so he was almost a goal per game. He also had 6 assists to make it 20 points. The record for most goals in a postseason is 19, and he was gonna come pretty damn close to that had Winnipeg made the finals, and definitely had a shot to break it. So he had a tremendous postseason for Winnipeg. They just couldn't get by Vegas in the conference final, but it certainly was not Scheifele's fault. David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins. Boston was out in the second round to Tampa Bay, but it was certainly not Pasternak's fault. In only 12 games played, Pastrnak had 6 goals, 14 assists for 20 points. So he was almost at 2 points per game, and he had over an assist per game. Even though Pastrnak is a winger and more known for his goal scoring, he had 14 assists in 12 games. He was fantastic for the Bruins. Certainly not his fault that the team got knocked out in the second round. He did his part production-wise. Just a great postseason performance from David Pastrnak. Now, another team that got knocked out in the second round, Pittsburgh, Jake Guentzel. Jake Guentzel, he's only been in the league for a couple of years now. He has cemented himself as an elite playoff performer. 2 postseasons in a row now. I believe it's 2. He wasn't there for the first Pittsburgh Cup, I don't think. I think he burst onto the scene last season. But anyway, he has proven himself to be an incredibly good playoff performer. He had 10 goals in 12 games played, so almost a goal per game. Another 11 assists to make it 21 points in 12 games. That's almost 2 points per game. That is incredible. He put up a ton of points for Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh lost to Washington and ended up out in the second round. It was not his fault. He had a tremendous postseason, just like he had the year before, and he is proving himself to be a clutch performer and a great postseason performer. Another Penguin, Sidney Crosby. Crosby was fantastic in the playoffs for Pittsburgh. 12 games played, he had 9 goals, 12 assists, and 21 points. Again, almost 2 points per game, an assist per game, another 9 goals on top of that. He was absolutely fantastic, and not his fault that Pittsburgh got knocked out. Next up, second to last one, Alex Ovechkin, Conn Smythe winner of the Washington Capitals. 24 games played. He had 15 goals to lead the entire league in goals for the postseason. Another 12 assists for 27 points. He was the emotional leader for the Capitals. He was the goal-scoring leader for the Capitals. He absolutely deserved the Conn Smythe, although I think Evgeny Kuznetsov and Braden Holtby also had strong cases for it. It goes to the star player most of the time, and Ovechkin is the superstar of the team, so he got it and absolutely deserved it. Just a fantastic postseason for him, and fantastic postseason for the Capitals as they won the Cup, obviously. And lastly, the leading point getter for the entire playoffs, another Washington Capital, Evgeny Kuznetsov. He was fantastic. Kuznetsov has solidified himself as the number 1 center of the Washington Capitals, dropping Nick Backstrom to this 2 slot. In 24 games played, Kuzi had 12 goals, 20 assists for 32 points in 24 games. Just lights out for this team. Absolutely fantastic. He is a superstar in the making without a doubt. And this postseason really was a coming out party for him. just incredible year, incredible postseason for Kuznetsov. So those are 10 guys, 3 goaltenders, and 7 players that I really think had incredibly good postseasons and deserve some recognition for that. Didn't do them in any particular order. I wasn't ranking them. Those are just 10 great postseason performances by those players. So, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. Check out OttawaHockey.com. All those links in the description below. Over 200 subscribers now, so thank you guys very much for that. Let's keep this channel growing, keep spreading the word. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.